Welcome to the Monday, January 30th, 2017 edition of Weather and Climate Chat with Monsoon Mike and Dr. Michael Davis. Dr. Davis, welcome back. Week number 2.
Week 2 already. Seems like time's flying.
Time is flying, and we're already just a couple of days away from February. Pretty soon it's going to be Groundhog Day.
And 49 days till the vernal equinox.
49 days till the vernal equinox. Cool.
And we haven't seen any snow yet.
I was just going to say, this is for a snow lover like me getting a little bit frustrating and slightly depressing. Even the New Jersey shore has had a couple of measurable snowstorms, and we haven't had any.
And Washington, D.C. this morning.
It's another one of those years where they're all to the south, but will that change? We'll talk about that briefly. And, of course, the furry rodent that everybody loves to talk about, I think his day out is Thursday. Thursday, so we'll see what he has to say. Not that we take him all that seriously, but it's always fun to get his opinion.
The groundhog usually is not correct.
Usually. And that's a pretty generous statement right there in and of itself. So, but we'll see what he has to say. He's a culture phenomenon nonetheless. Okay, so where have we been? Where are we going? Not a whole lot of excitement over the past few days. It was actually a somewhat quiet weekend. We had some light snow showers, nothing of any significance, but we've got a little clipper system, an Alberta clipper potentially coming through Tuesday. Talk a little bit about that, Dr. Davis.
Alberta clippers are low-pressure systems that typically form across the Canadian province of Alberta. That's where they get their name from, pretty much coming off the Canadian Rockies. I have heard them called Saskatchewan Screamers and Manitoba Maulers, too.
Haven't heard that in a while.
But they're just different terminology for simply a fast-moving low-pressure system that comes out of Canada. And since it's coming out of Canada, the temperatures there are cold, obviously, but you also have a lot of dry air associated with these clipper systems. So they typically bring colder air. They don't bring much in the way of snowfall. But when they encounter the Great Lakes, where there is moisture, especially if the lakes aren't frozen, which they are not,
right?
They can then acquire that moisture and then enhance themselves and give us some snowfall when that event happens.
When they get here,
Yeah. So that low pressure is coming out. It looks like even as early as this morning, I saw maybe the trough coming into western Pennsylvania. And back home in Cleveland, they're getting some snow already out of this. And that trough should be swinging through our area by this afternoon, maybe giving us a flurry or two later in the day, but I'm not really buying it. I'm looking out the window right now, and it looks pretty dry. And
still too dry.
There's still a fair amount of blue sky, which is representing by the dry air, keeping the air parcels not reaching saturation.
Right.
So I'm not entirely sure about anything happening during the daytime hours. The overnight hours looks like we could see a dusting to maybe half an inch or so, depending on how vigorous the system's going to be. It does have a lot of shortwave energy associated with it,
right?
Which usually helps enhance uplift. So you would have a greater rising of the air, so that would pretty much give you a better chance of seeing snowfall.
So potentially a slick early morning commute tomorrow or Tuesday, whenever you're listening to this, if everything came into play properly.
Yeah. And some of the models are showing that there could be some banding taking place down around Berks County, down into Philadelphia.
Right.
So there could be some really brief bursts of almost like whiteout conditions, but not a lot in the way of accumulation.
And those whiteout conditions are tricky in and of themselves, because you only need to have one of those hit at the wrong time when there's a lot of people on the road, and you could have quite a...
People getting their vision obscured and not really seeing where they're going, and it still could be quite treacherous even if there is no snow on the road.
So even though this isn't going to be a clipper to end all clippers by any means, still something to take it a little bit slow if you're going to be driving overnight or into the early hours on Tuesday.
That's right.
Okay. Then beyond that, it looks like we actually get into a quiet stretch of weather. Quiet seasonal weather, temperatures about normal, give or take a degree or two, but not a whole lot happening for the rest of the work week, correct?
Yeah, thanks to high pressure that's going to be pretty much sitting across the southeastern U.S.
Okay, so not a whole lot happening there. And then we get into the weekend. First part of the weekend looks fine. Second half of the weekend, and again, this is getting way out, and you and I never really...
Super Bowl Sunday.
That's right. I keep forgetting Super Bowl Sunday. Some of the models are implying some action. We'll just leave it at that for Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, some people are really playing it up right now,
Yeah.
and it's still way too early to tell.
I think people are just desperate for snow because we want some snow.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the case.
And if that did happen, that wouldn't be the first time. I think Super Bowl 2001, we actually had some snow. I remember clearly because people were having issues getting to parties.
Or that one year that the Super Bowl was in New York and they were concerned about a potential snowstorm.
That's right. And then it turned out to be nothing.
Yeah.
So then again, that's why we don't really look at stuff that far out. But just to know that the potential is there. And it looks like temperatures, unlike the past few weeks where they've been at or above average, stay a little more average the next week or so.
Yeah,
So-
I would go with that.
Okay.
And if it's going to be partly cloudy, sunny conditions for Thursday, I would say that the chances for the groundhog seeing a shadow are high.
So then that means he'll forecast 6 more weeks of winter. So then,
Yes.
so you pretty much can see where that's going. So okay, well there you go. I mean, it's generally a pretty straightforward forecast. Although we do actually have some potential snow events to look at with this minor clipper tonight into tomorrow, and maybe something a little more on Sunday. But other than that, just basic weather, and we trudge on through the winter of 16-17, which really hasn't been much of a
Or
winter.
lack thereof.
Or which really hasn't been much of a winter so far. So on that note, we'll get to slightly more, apropos topics here. We're going to do something a little more, internal here. You know, you wanted to promote some of what you're doing this semester with your students and your classes. Why don't you talk about that?
This semester, I am teaching Geography 304,
Okay.
which is weather analysis.
Okay.
And I'll be having my students making the weather forecasts for this week and for the rest of the semester, for
Okay.
that matter. And they'll be giving you information on temperatures, sky conditions, winds, and so forth. And there should be, hopefully, at least one student a day doing it. Sometimes they do have to go twice a day just because the schedules don't allow it, but you will be getting all 10 of my students getting forecasts this semester.
That's really neat, and that's something we did to some extent a couple of years ago. It worked out very well, and now we're going to be doing it again. So that's really fantastic. Students being involved and actually using KUR as a academic component to their class.
Yes, and they're also doing a forecast contest where every week we pick a new city and we go there to pretty much assess the weather for that specific area. They have to forecast the high temperature, low temperature, and the precipitation.
Didn't I participate in this a couple of years ago, too?
You did, yeah.
Just for fun.
You're
yeah.
welcome to join again,
Yeah, maybe I will. I'll
as
see.
well as any other student that would like to.
Okay, I'll put it out there. All right, well, there you go.
M.I. Davis at kutztown.edu.
There you go, folks. It's out
Email
there.
me if you would like.
It's out there. Okay. So, yeah, that's interesting because it actually gets you out of your element because I tend to just, focus on our area. But, that doing your little thing got me to look at other cities. And, it's kind of interesting to forecast for Salt Lake City or something like that.
This week it's Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, okay.
And I generally like to start the forecast contest someplace like tropical because
Right.
you're not going to get too much in the way of swings in temperature
Right.
this time of year. So it's nice, easy one, or supposedly easy,
Right.
to go first right off the bat. And then we get into more interesting ones like next week, I believe, is Boston.
That's more interesting.
Where if
Yeah.
you're going to have a big snowstorm, like what's been shown in the models, that
Right.
could be
That could be fun.
pretty fun to try forecast.
That could be fun.
And then we get into Wichita, Kansas in late April, which will be
That'll be fun.
severe weather season.
Severe weather season, yep.
And generally, I have the cities kind of coincide with the lecture material that
Right.
I have. So if we're talking about how mountains affect weather, we'll be in like Boise, Idaho, or something like that.
There you go.
And they learn pretty much how to take those skills and forecast for weather maybe outside of Kutztown.
That's really awesome. So again, if you want to participate in that, even if you're not a part of the class, M.I. Davis at kutztown.edu.
That's right.
And speaking of climate, I'm going a little bit out of order here. I probably should have done this first, but what the heck, I'll do it now. We want to share a little bit of good news about our friends in California. They look like they're finally getting out of that horrific drought that they've been in for a while.
Yeah, the past month or so, they've been getting a lot of heavy rain from what's known as the Pineapple Express. Mm-hmm. It's not that movie that came out
Yeah.
several years ago.
Right.
There's actually a meteorological term for it, which is a basically moisture plume that originates in the Hawaiian Islands and
Right.
kind of aims itself at Western California, usually around the wintertime. It can go up into Oregon and Washington State, too. and provide some rains. Mountain snows up there. Some parts of, I think it was on Tahoe, that got 8-10 feet of snow in one shot. So they got plenty of it. And that has really cut into what we've been seeing in the drought in California. So thankfully they're out of the worst classification of the U.S. Drought Monitor, but they're still in drought.
So definitely some good news for California.
Some relief is better than no relief.
Absolutely. They'll take anything. And actually, talk about some late-breaking weather news coming across as we're recording this. We're recording this around 12:20 on Monday, and I'm going to try to get this on our weather Facebook pages as soon as possible. But National Weather Service just issued one of their special weather statements. It's until 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time. So this is a very localized special weather statement. Scattered snow squalls and embedded squalls this afternoon. At 12:15, scattered snow showers over central Pennsylvania and central Maryland will move east into the Lehigh Valley, southeastern Pennsylvania, eastern Maryland, and Delaware early this evening. Although snowfall accumulations will be minor and very localized, a few of these showers will contain brief bursts of heavier snow that could last a few minutes. The ground could quickly become snow-covered and visibility suddenly reduced to under half a mile if any one of these snow squalls move over your location, potentially leading to accidents. Use extra caution. So maybe I should bring up radar because I don't really see a whole lot.
Yeah, let's bring that up because I'm looking out the window now to the west.
Yeah.
And it's definitely starting to look a lot more promising, I think, for precipitation that way.
I'm going to do it on my phone, and I'll show you my phone because it's easier than trying to bring it up on this crazy old computer of mine here in the studio. All right. I'll let you take a look at this. We're at the blue dot, and there's the snow showers.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of snow showers down toward the Harrisburg, Lancaster area. And if they're all moving this direction...
Well, you can animate it down there at the bottom. Yeah, on the left, I think, is the reverse animation, and then on the right's future radar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that band's holding together pretty good.
Yeah.
The animation. It looks like we get clipped by the northern part of it.
Okay.
It looks... Let's see if I can find the time here. I got it down there.
Yeah.
Timing looks to be about 3:30-ish.
Okay. All right. So there you have it, folks. If you're listening to this before 3:30-ish on Monday,
at least according to that app.
Yeah, it's the Weather Channel's future radar, which is sometimes good, sometimes not. But it's always better to look at what's actually happening now. And yeah, it looks like there's a fairly solid line from Sunbury to Harrisburg and down to Hagerstown, Maryland, moving pretty much east. So
I'm going to quickly bring up the high-resolution rapid refresh model.
Okay.
And see what they say.
Yep. What site do you use for that, by the way? National Weather Service?
Earth Systems Research Lab.
All right. Yeah.
If you just Google just HRRR model, it's the first website that comes up.
Okay.
And the high-resolution rapid refresh model is a model that's updated every hour.
Right. So it's good for...
Short-term.
Short-term. Very short-term stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And let's see here. That's what I'm looking for. It's also a much finer resolution, too, so it gives you a lot more critical information over a short period of time.
Hourly. I'm bringing it up now, too. Okay.
Yeah, this is starting to show like 1:30, maybe even 2.
Okay.
And then the snow gets out of here by 4 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
Yeah. No, that looks about right. Yeah.
You do a quick Z-time conversion.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I wish they would. I see why they do that, but sometimes I wish just to make it a little more easier for like the less savvy people to put like maybe the Z-time and then the regular time as well. So, but that's just an idea that I had. But okay, well, it depends when you're listening to this. Anytime over the next few hours till about 4 o'clock, potential a snow squall or two moving through the area.
Yeah, maybe batting the hatches for the first few hours if you're listening to it like immediately. But
All right. Well, as we said, it doesn't take a whole lot to actually cause some traffic trouble. So just take it easy.
It will be short-lived.
Short-lived.
And probably not much in the way of accumulation.
Usually these type squalls are under 15 minutes, usually.
Yes.
Yeah.
But during that 15 minutes, it can be pretty much like a white blanket thrown over your head.
So, okay. Well, we'll take what we can get in this very snow-starved season, right?
Yes, anything I will take at this point.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, we'll wrap it on that one. We're about 15 minutes in. So, any final thoughts, Dr. Davis? I guess we'll just keep listening for your students over this week as they start doing their forecasting, right?
Yeah, pay attention to what they have to say because they're becoming the next Dr. Davis.
The future Dr. Davises. All right. You have a great week, Dr. Davis, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
Okay.